Limelight presents Diamond Dreams Prasad Kapre Show. Thank you very much for all your comments and some very interesting questions. So, what I'm planning to do is for the next a few episodes, I would love to answer some of the very interesting questions which my audience has actually asked me. Of course, it concerns all about jewelry and diamonds. And the first question which I wanted to talk about today is, why do women buy jewelry? Now, there has been this question coming repeatedly, and generally, we all feel that, okay, fine, women buy jewelry as an investment. Well, actually, let me tell you that investment is actually just a justification. It's not actually the motivation. So there is a difference between a motivation and a justification. The justification given is that if I spent about a lakh of rupees, तो ठीक है, आज मैंने लाख रुपया jewelry में invest किया है. On the other hand, the real reason is something very different, which I call it as a motivation to buy jewelry. Now, if at all anybody wants to, invest in a jewelry, then generally it's not really the jewelry, but it is the bullion in the form of a bullion, which can be gold coins or gold biscuits. And because that's where, if there is appreciation in the gold price, you obviously get that benefit. As against that, when you say that you are actually investing in jewelry, so even when you go back to sell it to the same jeweler, still there is going to be a deduction of maybe 15 to 20% on about the labor charges, because finally even the jeweler or the retailer has to melt it and get the pure gold out of it. So most likely that there would be a deduction of 15 to 20%, and that's where it doesn't justify actually investing in the so-called jewelry. So I always recommend that if at all you are looking from an investment angle, it can be more from the bullion perspective. If you're looking from a jewelry angle, it has to be for the adornment. It can't be just for the lockers. Yes, you do get added benefit when the gold prices appreciate. You definitely get that benefit. And that's where the appreciation and the investment angle comes in. But otherwise, jewelry, if you're buying, it is more for an adornment. Now, coming back to the question that, what is the motivation then? If justification is the investment angle, then what is the actual motivation for any woman to end up buying jewelry? Now, primarily, there are two different reasons for which a woman actually gets motivated to buy jewelry. The first being the self-identity. She wants to assert her self-identity in terms of who she is and what kind of status she has, On the other hand, the second reason is more from a social recognition perspective, that she needs to be recognized socially, and her jewelry actually reflects that in the way she projects herself in the society, from a society perspective. So these are the primarily now two different reasons. The first one, if I look at it, which is all about self-identity. Now, within that self-identity, again, there are three different reasons. The motivations can be, the first and the foremost is stature and identity. Now, all this is, of course, based on a whole lot of research that the industry has done to understand the motivations to buy jewelry. And that's where the first one is stature and identity. What it means is that every woman wants to always look beautiful, no doubt about it. And when she wants to look beautiful, she needs to establish her identity. And her motivation is that the jewelry that she wears is actually going to establish her identity. And that also, in a way, is going to reflect her status in the society. So people know that if she's wearing a 1 carat plus diamond, that obviously she comes from a certain strata of society. Or if she's wearing a 2 carat diamonds, or if she's, wearing a whole lot of necklace, which is, complete spread. So, different designs actually appeal for these. And that's where, when you are trying to look beautiful, where you are trying to establish your stature, where you are trying to establish your identity, there are certain set of jewelry that a consumer ends up buying. And that's what also actually, in a way, helps the retailers to stock that kind of design, that kind of a jewelry. Now, to give you an example, most of us have heard of the brand called Nakshatra, which was there, since 2000. It has been there. Now, that particular design was a traditional design, but actually De Beers made it more contemporary. So earlier it was seen as a fuddy-duddy design. Then with the new marketing that we did around actually creating that aspirational value for that design, and we really turned it into more contemporary, where even the youngsters started buying into it. And that was all about Nakshatra. And that's where the first brand ambassador was also the Miss World, which is Aishwarya Rai. The whole idea was that because women like to always be presentable, always look beautiful, that's why the most beautiful woman in the world was the brand ambassador for a brand like Nakshatra. And this entire brand was actually pegged around the fact that it was all reflecting the buyer's stature and identity in the society. Coming to the second one, which is all about enrichment. Now, when you talk about enrichment, it is basically the relationship between a man and a woman. Whether it's, 90% of the time it's more of a husband and wife in the Indian context, but it can be father and daughter, it can be, uncle and niece, whatever. But the fact is, as I said, 90% of the time it is all about husband gifting it to wife. And I think that is another very big motivation, both for the husband as well as for the wife to buy it. Of course, in India, women have to nudge their husbands to actually go and buy this. But once they have gifted it to them, they feel really good about it. The women feel absolutely excited about it. So all the husbands out there must make sure that you actually end up gifting some piece of jewelry to your wives, because the pride that the wife takes in actually going and talking about that piece of jewelry in the society, in her friend circles, in her relations, that this is what my husband gifted to me. And that's why it's called an enrichment, which is like a gift of love. And again, to give you an example, there is a brand called Sangeeni, where it was all about a husband gifting diamond jewelry to their wives. And the fact that it was called Sangeeni, it was all about husband to wife gifting. And I think that's what came across even in the ad campaigns that were done by, again, De Beers. This was a brand which was launched by De Beers and called as Sangeeni. And this is where it all actually reflected the woman feeling enriched. And that's why it was something which she appreciated, her husband gifting it to the wife. The third one is something which is called reward, which is all about actually a woman always feels that she deserves a diamond when she has achieved something in life. So it's a sort of a self-reward. If she has, let's say she's a working woman, she gets promoted, or she gets an appreciation letter, or she gets, something, a project which was impossible to achieve, but she has managed to achieve it or has excelled in it, then obviously she again deserves a diamond, a piece of diamond, or a piece of diamond jewelry. So this is actually, it's not about gifting, but this one is all about self-purchase. I deserve diamonds because I have achieved something in life. I have arrived in life, and again, I need a piece of jewelry. And that's where she ends up buying a self-purchase of any piece of jewelry. Most of the time, when it comes to reward, it is all about diamonds again. Now, keeping these three in mind, so just to reiterate, when it comes to self-identity, the three reasons or the motivations for which a woman ends up buying diamond jewelry The first one being stature and identity, the second being enrichment, and the third would be self-reward. Now, coming to the social recognition, the other reason which drives the motivation for a woman to go and buy jewelry, in social recognition, in the Indian context, it moves more towards gold, but with diamonds, of course, because most of the jewelry will always be with diamonds or with stones, because it reflects certain stature, which the woman always wants to do it, wants to show it to the world. So the first one here is the social desirability, which is all about, when, and especially when she's getting married, she always feels that there has to be at least one piece of jewelry or one set of jewelry which has to be there in her social wardrobe. Because without that, she thinks that, I won't get the recognition in society what I really deserve. Also, when it comes to social desirability, it is also to reflect the social stature of the in-laws family or her husband's family. Because she's got married, so she has moved from her father's house to her, husband's house, husband's family. So there again, she needs to actually talk about or at least show her status. And that's why the social desirability, so the kind of jewelry that one needs to design is more from the wedding perspective, and it is more from the social desirability perspective. The next one, which is the second one in this category, is all about one-upmanship. Now, this is a very interesting one because this is more, observed as a motivation when it comes to evening wear. When women are actually, attending different parties and going out to cocktail circuits. And what really happens there is that the jewelry gets compared all the time. What are you wearing? What kind of jewelry are you wearing? What kind of, garments or the apparel that you are wearing? So which fashion designer or even the jewelry has to speak volumes about you as a personality. And that's where the one-upmanship comes up. And what it means is that if somebody has got a piece of jewelry, which again, let's say it's a solitaire jewelry, which is 1 carat that she's wearing. Maybe the other woman wants to wear a 1.5 carat solitaire jewelry, or maybe even a 2 carat solitaire jewelry, because she wants to be the center of attention. And she thinks that the jewelry is going to speak louder than what her actions are going to be. And that's why, to make sure that she gets to being the center of attention of any such party or the cocktail circuit, she wants to have that one-upmanship. And that's where the kind of jewelry that is bought for these kind of occasions is more from the perspective of exactly, what's really trending in the market. So bigger the diamonds, the bigger the spread, the better it is. And the third one within social recognition is fulfillment. Now, this is, when women are at a stage where they have been buying jewelry regularly, and yet they always feel that I still need one more piece of jewelry which will sort of fulfill me, because she's already got certain number of pieces, but yet she'll always, crave for more. And that is that one piece of jewelry which can be actually very stunning in terms of the design, where suddenly people have to come back and ask her. And the wow factor comes in, that wow, this is what the piece, I would love to own it. And that's where, because the consumers are going to, or the other audience is actually going to ask, where did you buy this? What exactly is this design? It's something unique. We have never seen this before. So that piece is something which gives a total fulfillment to the one actually buying that piece of jewelry. So on social recognition side, the 3 motivations are, the first one being social desirability, the second one is one-upmanship, and the third one is all about fulfillment. So together, there are these 6 motivations, 3 on the self-identity, which is all about stature and identity, enrichment, and self-reward. And on the social recognition side, It is all about social desirability, one-upmanship, and fulfillment. So thank you very much. And I would be soon talking in my next episode. I'll be answering one of your more interesting questions as well. Thank you.